Okay, welcome everyone. Please stand and join me with a moment of silence followed by the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, the wisdom to know the difference. Good evening, my name is Mark and I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is April 5th of 2003. Welcome to the 7 p.m. Thursday night meeting of the Treasure Map group of Alcoholics Anonymous. This is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. Before we start, please remember to turn off or silence your cell phones. Thank you. We'd like to extend a special welcome to any visitors who are here from out of town. Please stand and introduce yourself. Hey, Bo? Okay. Hey, Georgia. Joe? Also, anyone who is visiting the Treasure Map meeting for the first time, please stand to be recognized. Welcome, everyone. Finally, if there's anyone here who is at their first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, please stand to be recognized. We're happy you're here tonight and you are welcome here. All right, if there is anyone who is at their first meeting, please see the welcoming table in the back. We have a gift for you. Once again, thank you for being here with us tonight. The Treasure Map group of Alcoholics Anonymous believes in working the 12 steps as outlined in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous with a sponsor. There are many home group members here tonight that are willing to be sponsors. If you are new or if you do not have a sponsor, you can stop at the back table during the break and see Scott for a list of names and numbers of home group members willing to sponsor. Treasure Map group of Alcoholics Anonymous celebrates our sobriety birthdays on the last Thursday of each month. Treasure Map home group members celebrate each month of sobriety for the first 12 months and then each consecutive year thereafter. If you would like to make the Treasure Map group your home group, please see Scott at the back table for details. The current list of birthdays for this month are, I know Scott's on there. So at any rate, if you are celebrating a birthday this month, that is next week. So please let us know so we can get you on the list. Treasure Map group of Alcoholics Anonymous is committed to bringing a message of hope to those who suffer from alcoholism. We believe this message is contained within the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and our personal experiences. The AA Preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And tonight's meeting is a speaker meeting, and our 15-minute speaker is Mallory, and then our main speaker is Sarah. And now, please welcome Maureen to read how it works.
Thanks, Mark. I met Mark at Southside, probably in 2003. He's the same age as you're younger than my son, so shout out to him for coming in when he was early. How it works. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. There are such unfortunates. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. There are those, too, who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. If you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. At some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. Remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it is too much for us. But there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, saw through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Many of us exclaimed, "What an order! I can't go through with it." Do not be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We are not saints. The point is that we are willing to grow along spiritual lines. The principles we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Our description of the alcoholic, the chapter to the agnostic, and our personal adventures before and after make clear 3 pertinent ideas. A, that we were alcoholic and could not manage our own lives. B, that probably no human power could have relieved our alcoholism. And C, that God could and would if he were sought.
Thank you. I skipped announcements, so I'm going to go over those quick before you do pass the baskets. We have a bunch of these home group 12-step cards in the back table where Scott's sitting. Please grab a handful. There's a spot on the back for you to put your name and number to pass out to newcomers. And then it also has information about our meeting on the front. Next week will be the Big Book study format that we did last week. And we'll be going over Bill's story. Eric M. will be our presenter. We had those worksheets printed out last week, but we're not going to do that. They're going to be posted on the website from now on. And the website is treasuremapmeeting.com. So you can print those out ahead of time and bring them with you along with your Big Book. Also, again, next week is birthday night. So if you had a a July birthday and you want to celebrate, please let us know so we can get you on the list. Bad Axe Men's Retreat is coming up in August. The registration is online at badaxeweekend.com, and there's information. There's a flyer on the table in the back if you're interested in that. Another new thing we've been working on the past couple weeks is we have set up so you can give the seventh tradition online. And we have some of these on the back table too. So if you are opting to do online, if you would grab one of those and throw it in the basket when we pass them, that'd be awesome. Our next group conscience meeting will be the last Thursday in August. And we are working on getting together to plan a summer picnic, and details will be forthcoming for that. And now please welcome Tom to read our 12 traditions as we pass the baskets. Thank you in advance for your generosity and support. Tradition 7 states, every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions.
Thank you. I'm Tom, alcoholic. The 12 traditions. Number 1, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends upon AA unity. 2, for our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as he may express himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. 3, the only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. 4, each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or AA as a whole. 5, each group has but one primary purpose, to carry its message to the alcoholic who still suffers. 6, an AA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7, every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8, Alcoholics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9, AA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10, Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. 12, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities. Yep.
All right, we talk a lot about home group membership at the Treasure Map group because we believe that it is vital to our recovery. What does it mean to be a home group member? Here is a brief excerpt from the AA General Service Conference approved pamphlet on the AA group. The AA home group, traditionally most AA members through the years have found it important to belong to one group that they call their home group. This is the group where they accept service responsibilities and try to sustain friendships. And although all AA members are usually welcome at all groups and feel at home at any one of these meetings, the concept of the home group has still remained the strongest bond between the AA member and the fellowship. With membership comes the right to vote on issues that might affect the group and might also affect AA as a whole, a process that forms the very cornerstone of AA's service structure. As with all group conscious matters, each AA member has one vote, and this, ideally, is voiced through the home group. Over the years, the very essence of AA's strength has remained with our home group, which, for many members, becomes our extended family. Once isolated by our drinking, we find in the home group a solid, continuing support system, friends, and very often a sponsor. We also learn firsthand through the group's workings how to place principles before personalities in the interests of carrying the AA message. Talking about her own group, a member says, "Part of my commitment is to show up at my home group meetings, greet newcomers at the door, and be available to them, not only for them, but for me. My fellow group members are the people who know me, listen to me, and steer me straight when I am off in left field. They give me their experience, strength, and AA love, enabling me to pass it on to the alcoholic who still suffers. If you're interested in making the Treasure Map meeting your home group, please see Scott at the back table during the break or after the meeting." And now it is my pleasure to introduce our 15-minute speaker, Mallory.
I'm Mallory, I'm an alcoholic. First, even though she's not here, I want to thank Amy for asking me to speak. She said she's going to be listening to this, so I got to tell her thank you for asking me to speak. Yeah, Amy asked me to speak on step 1 and my experience with step 1. And, you know, for me, you know, you would think, you know, step 1 is super easy. You know, I'm powerless over alcohol. My life is unmanageable, but it's not easy. And that was my experience with it. It took some time for me to wrap my head around step 1, and you know, really concede to my innermost self that this is who I am. I'm an alcoholic. And you know, I think back to, you know, even before I started coming to meetings, and like I battled with that idea of, you know, I can't be an alcoholic, you know, and you know, I remember thinking, like I would Google alcoholism, and I would Google, like, you know, what makes an alcoholic, and you know, and I always had this image in my head of what an alcoholic is, and you know, I would trick my mind into thinking that I'm not that, you know, I'm not this, you know, this person that can't hold a job, or I'm not the, you know, I have a house, or, you know, I'm going to college, so drinking is just a part of it. And, you know, and I would rationalize in my head that, you know, what I was doing was fine. And even though I was, you know, I would hurt some people here and there, or I'd lie, or I would hide my booze. And, you know, it just, like, I just couldn't wrap my head around, like, I can't be an alcoholic. I didn't have any family that was alcoholic. You know, I didn't know anybody that was alcoholic. And so it took some time for me to really identify and really see just how powerless I am, and just how unmanageable my life is. And you know, so, you know, but it started with those thoughts, you know, it just started with like, this can't be normal, you know. And you know, when I finally started coming to meetings, I started coming to Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, and reading, you know, the big book, and reading the 12 and 12 with my sponsor. And, you know, those same things were coming up in the literature, how, you know, I'd rationalize in my head that I can't be an alcoholic. And that's what alcoholics do. I fall to that delusional thinking and that peculiar mental twist. And I think that I can handle this. I think I can, you know, I can have a few drinks like my friends are having a few drinks, and I'll be fine, just like they're fine. You know, but it was, you know, and I started coming to Alcoholics Anonymous when I was 22, and I was 27 when I finally sobered up. So there was a lot of time in there that I really was doing what the book was saying, where I would try to control my drinking. You know, I would try, and I didn't know this is what I was doing, but, you know, when I finally started paying attention to what the book was talking about, I fit into all those things. I fit into that identification part of you know, only having beer, or, you know, only drinking in the evening time, you know, but like it only lasts like a day. And then I go back to drinking in the morning, and then I go back to hiding my booze, and going back to lying about my drinking. And it didn't last very long. I would trick my mind into thinking just long enough so I could you know, start drinking again and feel, you know, that ease and comfort that comes with that. And then, you know, just like that literature, it's just like, then, you know, that pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization started all over again. And then that cycle started all over again. And then pretty soon I just, like, you know, and, you know, with my drinking, it led me down a path where it was just constant consequences all the time. And, you know, so I had little kind of moments where I would not drink as much, but still drinking nonetheless. And again, that I would rationalize that because I would go, 2 years with only having so much to drink every single day. And so when I finally started going to meetings and got a sponsor and we would talk about that unmanageability part of step 1, and she would kind of point out well, that you base your whole life around your drinking, that's not normal. And, she would point out normal people don't go to jail every couple of years. Most people don't go to jail at all. So, she'd kind of point out that stuff to me. When I finally made it into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I was still, I knew that, I knew I was powerless, but that unmanageability part was still so confusing to me because, my mind would just rationalize these things that, to outside people, they're like, why would you think that way? And it's just that's my most natural state. That is my most natural state where I can twist things and I can obsess over things and I can, rationalize these, today, since I have some sanity that has returned as a result of working these steps, I understand, I can see the difference between unmanageability and manageability, but that's only the result of working these steps. If I start not working these steps, there's these little moments that happen in my day where, I can trick my thinking into believing something is true when reality it's false. And that was my whole life, even before I started drinking. And then it escalated when I was drinking because consequences would happen, humiliation would happen. And then I would trick my mind into just saying, well, I'm not that bad because, so-and-so threw up everywhere and I can control that. And, and it was just when I see all that stuff and, as a result of just my drinking, it led me into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous where you guys finally were pointing some things out to me. And, there was, because it took as long as it took, there's this hopelessness that started entering too. And with that hopelessness that started entering me, there was this little bit of willingness that was kind of finally happening because I was just exhausted and I didn't know what else to do. I had tried everything else and nothing was working and my back was to the wall. And the only other option was to go to these meetings with you guys. And even though I had tried it before, there was something very different about this last time that I started coming to meetings again. And, I listened with a different, some different experiences that happened in my life. And, it wouldn't have happened before then, even if, I can, rationalize in my head that, if I should have just done this, I could have entered Alcoholics Anonymous sooner. No, it needed to happen when it happened. And when you guys would point out these things to me in the book, and my sponsor would point out to me these things one-on-one, things started making sense now. I started connecting the dots with that identification part, where I did see that powerlessness, for what it was, that, I would constantly trick my mind into thinking something, and I would believe these lies and believe these delusions that I had, and how it kept me in that cycle, and it kept me sick, and it kept me from not being a part of something, positive. It kept me apart from you guys, and it kept me apart from my family, and it kept me apart from all these people that really cared about me, because in my mind, you guys were separating me what was really the solution, which was my drinking. And and when I finally was able to come into these rooms and with that hopelessness that I needed, and I finally started hearing what you guys were saying, I realized just how powerless I was over that, and I needed something different. And step one is the start of that. And then that unmanageability part kind of came a little bit later in my sobriety. It took some time for me to get some manageability back. It took some time for my sanity to return. And so, when when I got my sponsor and we started working through the steps. And, you know, I'm so grateful for her because we didn't, you know, we didn't dwell on doing things perfectly. You know, we didn't dwell on, well, you need to get this right away. And it, you know, she gave it to me in these little pieces that I was able to receive it. And we would talk about it and we would go back to it. But, you know, I finally realized, all right, that unmanageability part clicked for me, like, you know, a few months into sobriety where I could see, you know, because I was showing up to my job on time. I wasn't drinking at my job. I was actually performing really well at my job. You know, I was in the sober home. I was, you know, doing some service stuff. I was, you know, following through on some things. And, you know, and I was surrounded with some of these other people that were new in sobriety like I was, and they were struggling with you know, some of the same things I was struggling with beforehand. And I could, like, things kind of took a, you know, I could see, like, I went full circle and I really saw, like, I did that. You know, you know, I would lie to people or I wouldn't show up to you know, I say I would show up and I didn't show up. And that unmanageability part, you know, and then, you know, my sponsor pointing out to me these things that were just like, you know, people go their whole lives, you know, showing up to work on time. You know, people go their whole lives without getting arrested, and people, you know, and it's just like, it was just this idea. It was just like, you're right. I don't know why I thought that you know, my life was manageable. And when I finally saw just how chaotic my life really was, how, you know, I was putting myself in that environment that was so unhealthy and so harmful, that I couldn't see how, you know, I could have such a different, better life. You know, I saw this was as good as it was going to get, so I might as well just settle in. And that's not what this is. And so it took some time for me to finally come to understand all of that and really see, like, you know, I can actually have a really good life here. And what I was living before was not that great, even though I tricked my mind into thinking it was. And, you know, and so step one, you know, it really, it was this, it came slow for me, I guess, you know, and, but, you know, today I really see just how, you know, it took that time for me to fully come to terms with, this is who I am. I'm an alcoholic. And the people that kind of brought those little nuggets, that for whatever reason kind of stuck. And then when I could finally really comprehend the words that I was reading and really see it in my own life, you know, that's when it just became very clear that, you know what, you know, I am powerless over alcohol and my life is unmanageable. And, you know, and that's why I love, like, in the 12 and 12, where, you know, it really, towards that end, where it really says, like, you know, I had to be fully convinced, because who wants to be rigorously honest? Who wants to, you know, have to, you know, do these meetings? Who wants to, you know, admit complete defeat? Nobody does. It's totally unnatural for me to do that. But because, you know, I am who I am and I'm an alcoholic, I do these things because the other option is death. You know, I'm going to go on to the bitter end. And it puts me in that position that I need to be in to commit myself to doing the rest of the steps. Okay, now what do I do? Well, now we have the remainder of the steps to help, where I was finally able to have some sanity that returned, where it just motivated me more, because I realized just how much I needed you guys and just how much my life before was not that fantastic. And, you know, and I have a community of people to help me with that. And, you know, and today, and it's funny because my parents still, you know, I love them and they're great, but they still just don't get it. And that's okay, because they're never going to get it because they're not alcoholic. But they always wonder, like, you know, like they didn't want this for me. They wanted, you know, they didn't want me to go through this hardship or just this, you know, whatever. And I'm like, I don't view it like that. It's completely opposite thought process. Because for me, everything that happened led me to you guys and led me to the solution that I have such a great life today. That, you know, it wasn't a hardship. I mean, yes, it was hard, but it was something that needed to happen for me to get to that point where I needed to change what was inside. And you know, and I don't see it as this, you know, this hardship or this negative thing. And you know, maybe someday they'll realize that. But you know, I love them for at least loving me. So yeah, so that's all I have on step one. And I want to thank you guys for being here and for inviting me. And thank you, Amy. So thanks.
All right, thanks, Mallory. Now we're gonna have a 10-minute break for our main speaker. Restrooms are back there. If you smoke, please use this designated area out here and make sure your butts get in the bucket. Thanks. I did. I think I turned the camera on. I just like to do that. Right? All right, if everybody wants to make their way back in seats, we'll get started. All right, welcome back. We're going to get started with our main speaker, Sarah.
I'm Sarah, I'm an alcoholic. Just want to say thank you for asking me to speak, as this is a privilege to get up here and be able to share my story. A couple of things that hit me when we were going over this last week in our preface. Just some questions to ask yourself as you listen to our stories tonight. Either, yes, that happened to me, or yes, I felt like that, or yes, I believe in this program, it can work for me. So if you just want to just kind of be open-minded to what I have to say. My story is not just includes alcohol, it also includes a lot of drugs involved too. So I apologize in advance for that, but that's part of my story. The other piece too is kind of interesting that I was asked when I did, because we're also reading forward to the second edition, and it says it also indicated that strenuous work, one alcoholic with another, was vital to permanent recovery. And at the time, I got myself into a situation the last couple of weeks where I needed to focus back on my step one. And with it being step one, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. And it like all fell into place. And I feel like it's a God thing, because the week before I got asked to speak at another treatment center, and then I got asked to speak here, and then I'm speaking next week. And it's like, I need to tell my story because it's helping me stay sober. And so I'm very grateful to be up here and to share my story with you. So as I was preparing to speak tonight, I was asking around, well, what should I talk about? I know it's step one, but where should I start? Well, of course, I always get, well, start at the beginning. Okay, I'll start at the beginning, but my beginning's a little different because it's not right at the beginning, but I'm going to start at the point where I realized that I couldn't stop on my own willpower anymore. And it just kept going further and further, and I became hopeless. And then I found hope. And that's what I want you to get out of my story, is that I had hope. So my story starts exactly about when I was 23. So I got sober in 2010. So at 23 I was. And I remember I just broke up with my boyfriend at the time, and I'm driving home, and I get this phone call, and my grandma also passed away. And I'm like, okay, I can deal with this. I can do this. This is all right. And then I walk into my apartment, and my sister's like, oh, hey, we found this new place, and we're going to move in, and I thought you were going to move in with your boyfriend, and I'm sorry, but you're not moving in with us. Now I don't have a place to live. I'm like, okay, well, this is all right. I can do this. I'm a little upset, but it's okay. Because, I got alcohol. It can cover up my pain, whatever I'm feeling. I'll just go drink, find some friends. It'll be all good by morning. And then I'm like, okay. So I call up a couple of my friends, and they didn't want to hang out with me. Why? Because I made out with the groom, and he didn't want to hang out with me anymore. And they were supposed to be going out for a party this weekend to the wedding, and they didn't want me to go to the wedding. So now I'm really upset, because now I don't have any people to hang out with. And I was like, okay, now what am I supposed to do? So I call up this other girl, and she's like, hey, yeah, let's go out, And I'm like, all right, let's do it. And I'm like, but you got to drive. And she's like, okay. But she ended up getting a little too wasted to drive. And me, I have the experience of driving drunk. So I'll just like, yeah, I can do this. I'll drive. But what happened was I ended up getting a DUI. So, and of course, this isn't my first DUI. But I ended up getting a DUI. And this is May of 2001. And You know, and the following, a few months later, you know, 9/11 happens too, and I have this job that I was working at for a couple years. And this job, you know, they put into all these plays from bombs and stuff, you know, and you have to contact your manager, you know, if you hear anything. And so I'm like, hey, this guy's trying to threaten us, and he's going to put a bomb on the building. And they're like, okay. So they put it into action. And then I got called into the office the next day, and they're like, we didn't hear any of the stuff. And I'm like, but I did hear it. I did hear it. She's like, no one played the recording back to me, and it wasn't on there. So the next thing you know, I get fired from my job. And I'm like, oh, this is great. You know, now I'm fired from my job. Don't have a boyfriend. My grandma passed away. You know, but life is good. Because now I'm going to go to Amsterdam, because now this is great. Great timing. I don't have to worry about work. I'm on break from school. And who am I going to go hang out with would be my ex-boyfriend's friends, you know, because I'm trying to get back at him, you know, so now I'm just going to go to Amsterdam. So this is going to be awesome. First time. And the reason I'm going out there to smoke weed, not to enjoy the sights or check out the museums or Van Gogh or any of that, but I wanted to go smoke weed and I wanted to check it out. I wanted to see what White Widow was or all these other types of different festivities that they had and the type of weed that they had. So I went out there. And my girlfriend that was out there with me, she kind of got a little upset because I didn't make it back to the hotel several times. So I was hanging out with a bunch of locals. And she's like, Sarah, where'd you go? And I'm like, hey, we're just partying, you know. So you can do weed in at the bar, and you can drink, and everything's all excited. And I went over to this guy's house afterwards, and I'm just going to be brutally honest and just be like talking about my story here. So, and you know, the object was I'm just going to have sex with this guy. You know, I've been drinking and everything's going to be good, but he didn't have a condom. So now he's leaving to go get one from down to the store. And he comes back and I'm gone. I like put on my clothes and I'm gone. So I'm like, oh, I got out of this one. And walking into my friend, and I'm trying to figure out where my hostel is, and I couldn't figure out where my hostel is. You know, and all this is because I've been drinking, because my mind's not clear, and I had weed, and I don't know what else I was doing, because they were just putting stuff in front of me. So I'm just not clear. Reality isn't there. And I didn't care, because my life was starting to become unmanageable, and I just wanted to numb it. And whatever was put in front of me, I didn't care. So I get home, and now it's time to be charged for my DUI. And went all the way to jury trial. I was acquitted at jury trial for my DUI. That doesn't happen. Usually people plead out or whatever. I get acquitted. Great. Now I can get off, and I can go back to drinking. But no, the judge is like, Sarah, you're on probation from your first DUI, from your suspended imposition that you had in '99. So that means we have to send you to jail for 30 days. I'm like, oh, well, I don't have a job, so I don't have to worry about trying to find work release. So, well, that's good. It's good timing. So it was over Thanksgiving and over my birthday, and I get out right before Christmas. So Christmas Eve is the day that I get released. And my family's all super excited to see me and happy, you know, and it's because I sent these letters that I was sorry, this isn't ever going to happen again, and I was very remorseful, and this isn't me, and I'm sorry. And I almost missed my brother's graduation, but what happened to me in jail is the turning point that got me into a different era of my active using. So because I was also going to school when I was in jail, instead of work release, they were able to get me so that I could go ahead and get up to study. So I had my backpack. I had access to my backpack, and they didn't search my backpack, which means then I could bring stuff in for the girls, the other inmates. So I started bringing cigarettes in, started trading, started to make friends with people in jail, which is one of the things that you're told not to do, which I did. So all of a sudden, this girl comes up to me, and she's like, hey, try this. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, it looks like brown salt. Why would I want to try that? And she's like, it'll pass the time while you're here. You only have a couple weeks. Let's just do this. And I'm like, all right, what do I got to lose? Because in my head, drinking was causing me problems. I knew that if I drank again, I probably was going to get another DUI. I was probably going to go to jail. But this might be something different. Maybe this would keep me out of jail. That's how my head works. That's my thinking. Well, it ended up being crystal meth. First time I ever used crystal meth was when I was in jail. You know, and you're trying to cover it, you're trying to hide it from the correction officers, and you're trying to pretend like you're sleeping, and they're like, "Sarah, you gotta eat, you gotta eat." I'm like, I don't feel like eating, and this food is gross. So I lost a lot of weight when I got out of jail, and one of the correctional officers, he's like, "Damn, you look really good." And I remembered this correctional officer from a long time ago when I was 16 years old. And I just wanted revenge against him because he hurt me. He hurt me so bad. And I remember I was with one of my girlfriends. We were at the steps of a church, and he comes up and he gives her a big hug and a kiss. And then he's like, you're never going to find a boyfriend because you're fat and ugly. And I was like, okay, you know, maybe I am. Maybe, you know, and it dropped my self-esteem so low. And now I see him again years later, and now I just want to get him. I just want to just like treat him like crap. Of course I did, and found out that he smokes weed, and you know, things kind of didn't really go the way that I planned, and I just left. But it was just, you know, my thought processes and my thinking, it just was not rational. It just was not rational. You know, and I started to get irritable, restless, discontented, and this girl gave me her number, and she's like, "Call me when you get out of jail." I get out, you know, on New Year's Eve. Why don't you call me? And so I did. So now I'm not drinking anymore. Now I'm doing meth. The drinking kind of got put to the side for a little bit because now I don't need to drink. I got something else that's keeping me awake. You know, and time passes a little bit, and now I lose my apartment because now I'm not paying rent because I don't have a job. I can't pass a UA. Or I didn't try to pass it, I should say. So now I lose my apartment, and I met this guy, and I'm like, "Hey, I'll move in with you. You know, we'll just sell all my furniture, we'll get the money, and we'll just go buy a big 8-ball or something, you know, and maybe try and make a profit off of it." That was my thinking, but of course I had to do it all because that's what I do. I'm not a very good dealer because I consume it all because I'm an alcoholic. But I didn't know that. I didn't know that that's where I was at that point. I didn't know. And instead, now I'm moving in with this guy that I only knew for 2 weeks because he had a place to live. Little did I know that the place that I was moving into was a meth manufacturing house. So, of course, we were already being watched, which I didn't know. I mean, I'm new at this whole drug thing. I didn't have a clue what was going to happen. And the guy that I was moving in with, now he was just released from San Quentin on attempted murder and commission of a felony. So now I'm dealing with this guy, you know, but he's keeping me safe. You know, that's my thought. He's keeping me safe. I'll just hang out with him. Put myself into situations where I'm safe. But I wasn't. I just kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper. So now, you know, I got U.S. Marshals coming. He doesn't work and he's on Social Security, or he's trying to get workman's comp or a settlement or something, and that doesn't go through. So now we lose that place. And now I'm living at the neighbor's house who's Arabic. And so he gets into a lot of fights when he drinks. So the cops get called a lot. And, you know, I'm on probation. I don't really need to be going to jail. So trying to get myself out of that situation. Now I end up moving in with this girl who has 12 cats and an efficiency. And it doesn't change the litter box. So now, you know, it's like, I can't do this. And I'm like, fine, I'm just gonna live in my car. It's much easier. So I went up to Flying J and parked my car in the winter. You know, can't really run your car because you don't have a whole lot of money to keep putting for gas. So you're freezing. And I'm living in my car. I've lost everything in a matter of months. Everything's gone. I mean, when I lost my job, I had a 401k. I took all that money out. I didn't pay rent. I didn't pay my bills. Instead, I used it. I got nothing. My life is completely unmanageable and powerless. It's got a grip on me. And that car that I was living in, I got into an accident with that car. Now I'm on pain pills. which I didn't know you could get high off of pain pills. But the guy I was living with at the time, he knew you could because he was an ex-heroin addict. He knew. Now I'm on opiates. I'm seeing a doctor who didn't know anything about fentanyl. You know, and now all the rage is about fentanyl. No, how bad it is. Well, this was 8 years ago. And she didn't have a clue on what she gave me. And you're supposed to start out with the smallest dose. She gave me middle dose, like way above I should have had. And I liked it. It didn't react to me like normal people. And all I wanted was more. So now I'm going back and forth to 2 doctors, seeing the acupuncturist, and then I was also seeing this other doctor who knew I was drug seeking. He knew I was drug seeking. And because of that, he was trying to taper me down. So he's like, I'll tell you what, we'll do push-up for pills. And I'm like, what? He's like, yep, for every push-up you can do, I'll give you a pill. I'll give you a pill. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. Because what do I got to lose? You know, if I do push-ups, I'm going to get what I want. And then I can either go sell it or I'm going to make sure that I'm well, that I'm taken care of. But that didn't even cross my mind that wasn't right. The nurse is looking at me funny, like, what is this doctor doing? But he knew. She didn't understand the concept of an addict. We're drug seekers. Not just alcohol, but in my case, I'm a drug seeker. It progressed. My disease progressed. So far, where I started talking to doctors, trying to get myself more. I ended up getting cut off. Of course, they found out because they were across the hall from each other, and they started finding out somehow, and they cut me off. So now what am I supposed to do? Now I'm not getting my own. Now I got to go find it somewhere. Got to go find it on the street. So now that it's not my own, the guy that I'm living with, and we're just fighting. We're just constantly fighting. And the only time that we're actually happy was when it's in front of us or when we were drinking. And I remember coming home one time and I had all set up. I had this bottle of tequila. I was all set, ready for when I got home from the bar so I could drink it. Come home, it's empty. Completely empty. Oh, I was irate. So irate because it's after 2 o'clock. You can't buy anymore. I don't have any more in the house. So I'm going to wake him up. Because if he's drunk, he's going to be just like me. Because I didn't care. I was mad. Now what am I supposed to do? You're going to be up with me. For waiting until 7 o'clock so I could go get more. Or calling my neighbors to see if they had anything. Quite very resourceful. So I had all these stashes and things that were put away because I thought, was the alcoholic. I thought he had issues. It wasn't me, it was him. He had the doctors, he had the cirrhosis, he had the hep C, he had all these things. And it wasn't me. I'm just trying to keep him under control. Yeah, it didn't work very well. So when we ran out, it was awful. It was just an awful experience. And I would try to leave. And I would have my suitcase all packed and I would try to leave. But I couldn't get past the door. And it wasn't because I wanted to be with him. It was because he had a grip on me. It was the drugs. He had the money. Granted, it wasn't much, but he had the money. And I knew what was I supposed to do if I left. So I always came back. Till this one time I had enough. I had it set up where I could go stay at my brother's house. I hadn't talked to my brother in a while, but he wanted to help me. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. I'll go stay with you. But the bad part was I was having people come over while he was at work. And we were doing lines on his table and doing stuff in my niece and nephew's room. And I didn't feel like this was right. I couldn't do it. And so I got this in my head, and I knew that the guy just got a new prescription filled. And so I was like, oh, I'll just go over there, check up on him, see how he's doing. Well, the ambulance was over at our apartment. I'm like, well, this isn't a good sign. He's like, I think I need to go to the doctor. I need to go to the emergency room. And I'm like, well, why? So he's always trying to go to the emergency room. I mean, he's drug seeking, or he's got panic attacks, or thinks he's having a heart attack or something. And so I stopped believing him. And he's like, I think you need to go inside the apartment and take a look. I'm like, oh, fine. I'll just walk in. And it looked like it was a massacre happened in my apartment. Like blood was everywhere. His esophagus grew from his cirrhosis. I mean, he like exploded blood everywhere. I'm like, yeah, I think we're going to take you to the doctor. So now he's in the doctor, and if we wouldn't have gotten him in on time, he probably would have died. So now in my mind, I think he needs me. I can't go back to my brothers. He needs me. That's how I thought. But it's really, I needed what he had. So that was in May of 2010. So now we're living on housing, so our rent is like maybe $125 a month, and I stopped paying rent, stopped paying electricity. So now we don't have electricity in our place, but I'm resourceful because now I'm going to go ahead and pull the electrical lines from outside, and I'm going to pull them in so we can have lights, not plug it into the fridge, to have food, but to make sure we had lights so we could have our table set up enough that we could see what we were doing. Makes sense, right? You don't need a fridge. And then, because we weren't paying rent, we got kicked out. So now I really don't have another place to live again. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, and it just keeps getting worse, and it just keeps getting worse. Not getting any better. And that's one of the things that they tell you. It's like you go back out, it's just gonna get worse. And I never came back in. I never came into AA because I didn't know what AA was. All I knew about AA was the fact of what was on TV. I was judging it. Contempt prior to investigation. Making fun of it. And now here I'm a member of AA. And I'm a proud member of AA because it's helped me to get to where I'm at today. And it's an amazing life. Going from all of that. And, and that was in May of 2010. And now I get this phone call from one of our girlfriends that we were using with. And she's like, what happened? I'm like, well, what happened? And she's like, well, one of us OD'd. And I'm like, oh, which one? She's like, well, Travis did. And I'm like, oh, crap. He used to live with me. His wife kicked him out, and he used to stay with me. I'm like, oh, jeez. So what did I want to do? I wanted to numb that pain. I wanted to get high. I wanted to get drunk. I wanted everything that you could possibly give me because I didn't want to feel what just happened to my best friend. And my friend was like, yeah, let's do it. And with my story, I told myself I was never going to be like one of those junkies. I was never going to use needles. I was never going to do all those things. We're immortals. They get thrown out the window, and you don't care anymore. You just don't. And I'm like, all right, shoot me up. And he's like, you sure you want to do this? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I was a freaking wreck. And I couldn't feel, my emotions were all bottled up, and I didn't know how these were coming out. And all I knew is I had to get out of there. And he's trying to get me into the safe place. He's trying to get me into his mom's apartment, which were his daughter was, his sister was, and then his sister's son was there. And I'm just like crying. I'm like total like out of my mind. He can't keep me in the apartment. I keep trying to leave. And if he wouldn't have had my keys, I probably would have drove. And who knows what would have happened at that point. But instead, I ended up starting to walk around the parking lot, hopping into cars, losing my shoes, crying. And then this lady from up above, she ends up calling the cops on me because she's like, something's just not right with this girl. Now, I got ambulance in front of me. And I got the cops with me. And of course, the first thing they're going to do is PBT me. There's nothing. So I wasn't drinking. I'm like, well, she's on something, obviously, because something's not right. So now they're searching everywhere around me. And they end up finding an Oxycontin like within arm's reach of me. And so now they're going to charge me with it. Trying to call the pharmacy, trying to find out what it actually is. And now they're taking me into the hospital because they want to UA me. And I refuse to give them my UA. And they're like, but we have to have a UA from you. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to give you a UA. And that's all I can remember, that I wasn't going to give them a UA. Because I knew if I did that, I was going to get more charges. No, then I started remembering, like, oh, I have this fentanyl patch on. I got to get it off because it's not my prescription. So I took it off and I ate it. I mean, what? Who does that stuff? It made sense to me because I didn't want to get in trouble. Now they're like, well, we need to take her over to behavioral health. She's way over the toxic limit. And the next thing I remember, I'm waking up at behavioral health, and this doctor comes in, and she's like, why'd you try to kill yourself? I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't try to kill myself. And she's like, Sarah, there's a lot in your system. I'm like, well, you're going to have to give me something because I'm going to be withdrawing. She's like, okay. And she just gives me, I don't know, probably Xanax or something, which that's really a great idea to go ahead and give an alcoholic another narcotic. I'm like, okay. So now I'm making phone calls trying to get myself out of there, and then they realized that I had a warrant. I'm like, okay, so now I'm going to jail. This is fun. Sitting in jail. And now I'm on suicide watch in jail. I don't know if anybody's ever been in that point, but they put you in this lovely little turtle suit. I remember it as like a garbage bag is how I remember it, because I don't remember. But people are telling me this, and that's what it's like. And they're like, you have a visitor. You need to come out here. You have a visitor. And I'm like, who knows I'm in jail? Nobody knows I'm just in jail. I haven't really let anybody know. And because you're on suicide watch, you can't actually have a visitor. It has to be over a video, over a TV. And so I'm walking out, and this picture comes up, and it's my dad. My dad knew I was in jail. I was so humiliated, and I didn't want him to know how bad I really was. And so I started screaming at the correctional officer. I'm like, put it away, put it away, put it away. I don't want to talk to him. And I just ran back to my room. I'm like, I can't let him know. So the next day they let me out. Little did I know that my dad was starting to put an IVC hold on, an involuntary committal hold, because he thought I was harm to myself or others. But I managed to get out of jail before that was actually put into place. Me, I'm so smart, I'm calling up my friend, and he's like, hey, you got anything? I'm like, yeah, I got something, but it's over at my dad's house, because that's where I hid my stash, because I knew that would be a safe place. So now we got to go out to my dad's to go get it. And he's like, okay. So we're driving out there, and I'm trying to get in. My dad's girlfriend's blocking at the door. She's like, you can't get in here, you can't get in here. And I'm like, where's my dad? Well, he's not here right now, and he didn't want you to come in. And I'm like, you don't live here. I'm coming in. And she's like, well, you can come into the little back hall area, and that's it. I'm like, fine. I'll wait here till my dad comes. Well, the guy leaves, so now I'm stuck here waiting. And my dad shows up, and I'm sitting down in the back hall, and he says someone's next to me, and he's like, started crying. He just started crying. And he looks at me, and he's like, Sarah, I know you believe in God, and I know you don't want to die. And I'm like, maybe I don't, and maybe I do. And that took me back. I was like, that just came out of my mouth. I didn't want to die. Why did I say that? I grew up believing in God. Why did I just say I didn't believe in him? My head was just like, I gave up. I was hopeless. I didn't want to be alive anymore. You know, and that OD that happened to me, I thought it was by accident, but it probably wasn't. Subconsciously, I probably did it on purpose. So now my dad's like, Sarah, you need to go to treatment. I don't need to go to treatment. Treatment doesn't work. Assure me that treatment works. And my friends that I hung out with, they all went to treatment, but you know what? They're still addicts. So those are the ones that I hung out with. I never hung out with people that were sober. I didn't hang out with the fellowship. I didn't hang out with AA members. That was the difference. So when I'm sitting in detox, the guy's asking me, and he's like, all right, it's time for you to figure out where you're gonna go. And I'm waiting to fill out my paperwork because I could either go to HSC or I could go to Keystone. And I was just like in my head, I'm like, I don't want to go to either one of those. And then he brings up, well, what about Tallgrass? I'm like, I've never heard of Tallgrass before. And he's like, well, I heard they had really good food. I'm like, all right, take me to Tallgrass. They got food. I'm like, sweet, that's where I'm gonna go. You know, and I get in there and it just seemed so big. Just like it was like overwhelming. I'm in my first time in treatment, residential treatment, 30 days. How did I get here? It was 9 years in the making. And they set you up with a mentor, and this mentor came, and she started telling me her story, and it connected. I wanted what she had. She had the life. She went back to school. Her kids liked her. She was married. She beat breast cancer. It's like she had everything I wanted. And she told me, she's like, Sarah, you're doing step one. You're here. She simplified it for me. She didn't make it into this huge, big deal that I needed to do all these things. I already knew my life was unmanageable. She's like, you're doing step one. You're here, Sarah. And I'm like, can you keep coming back every day? Because I'm scared and I don't want to be here by myself. And she's like, I'll come out here as much as we can, Sarah. You know, I was just like overwhelmed. You know, and 10 days in and I can't sleep because now I'm withdrawing, right? 10 days, withdrawing. I mean, it's coming out both ends, barely making it to group. And they're like, okay, Sarah, we'll take you to the doctor. Maybe we can help you get something to help you sleep. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, well, are you ready to let them know that you're in recovery or that you're in treatment? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. Because I know I'm going to be able to talk to the doctor and he's going to give me what I want. Well, then I know that doctor was actually a friend of theirs. So not very good. So he didn't give me anything that could be something that would actually be addicting. But in my head, I'm going to create it to be. I'm going to take more than what it's prescribed. So take a handful out, and then I give them the bottle. You know, this is on Friday. And on Monday, I get called into the office. And I'm like, oh, crap. You know, things are going well. This is great. And they're like, Sarah, what happened? I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, Sarah, half the bottle's missing. There's 90 pills. There's like 45, maybe even less. I don't know. And he's like, where are they? And I'm like, I took them. He's like, Sarah, you didn't take that many pills. I'm like, well, I had this visitor that came over the weekend, you know, and he's going through the same thing that I'm doing, but he's not in treatment. And so I'm just trying to help him out. And he's like, Sarah, think about that. Think about what you just said. Oh my God, what? He's like, if he would have got pulled over, leaving our property, we would have gotten in trouble. I'm like, didn't make any sense because I've been doing that for 9 years, sending people off with prescriptions that weren't there. So what is it supposed to mean? But it dawned on me. I'm like, can't you see I have a problem? I did step one. 10 days into treatment, I did step one again. They're ready to kick me out of treatment. So my option is I'm either going to go to jail or I'm going to try and figure this thing out. Well, I know what happens when I go to jail. Been there, done that. I don't know what the sober thing is. I don't know what this life is going to be. I could try it. I'm like, okay, well, if this is what you want to do, we'll set you up. We'll do a count. Every day we'll do a count and see how many pills are left to make sure that you can get through with what's left. By the end of the week, I didn't need them anymore. I was already in a state of mind that I want this. But I was still irritable. And I'm not doing my chores, and I'm finally sleeping, and they come up and like, Sarah, you gotta vacuum. And I'm like, I don't have to vacuum. What are you talking about? I'm not gonna vacuum. I'm just getting to sleep. I'm like, oh, pissed off. And I'm running down the stairs and practically almost kicked the dog and this other person that was in front of me. And they're like, get out of her way. Just get out of her way. So needless to say, my first amends was actually a treatment. They're like, Sarah, you need to do amends to them. I'm like, okay. And they had another one ask me, Sarah, how you doing today? I'm like, fine. No, you're not, Sarah, you're an addict. Shut up. I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. But you know what they were? They were all in recovery. They were a step ahead of me. They've been there. They've done it. They knew. I made a connection with them. I found the similarities that they had. So I'm laughing. I haven't laughed in so long. I'm a fighter. I'm pushing people through walls. I'm like angry, bitter, yelling, scrapper. And I see these people are happy. How do they do that? I want that. So I started feeling like my brain was starting to get brainwashed. And I'm like, Sarah, maybe your brain needed to be washed. Well, yeah, you're probably right. And I'm starting to get this, and getting out of treatment, and I was so scared, and I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I've never been sober more than a couple of days, and that was because I didn't have anything, so I don't know how I'm supposed to do this. And I was so full of fear. But I wanted this, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get it. If I had to live in this sober home, I'm going to live in this sober home. Needless to say, I got kicked out of the sober home a couple times, but not because I was drinking, because I wasn't following expectations. In that first year, it was rough. It was rough. Got a job, lost the job. But I had a sponsor. I had the fellowship. When they say that there's two parts to AA, you got the program, and you also have the fellowship. I was coming to meetings 3 times a day because I didn't know what else to do with my life. But I knew I wanted to stay sober. How was I going to get it? So if I started watching what you guys were doing, sitting back and observing, following, listening, maybe I could have it too. That's what I did. Started listening in meetings. And the next thing you know, they're like, hey, Sarah, you've been sober about 6 months now. Now it's time to chair a meeting. I'm like, no, I don't want to chair a meeting. How am I supposed to chair a meeting? It's so scary. But those charges that I had, and I know that there had been a God involved at this point. Because I had charges from one county and Minnehaha County and also Lincoln County. They were back to back, 1 month from another month. And I had 40 years on me. There's a possibility, 40 years. 10 years for each felony that I picked up. But they were starting this program that was called the MSA program, a meth sentencing alternative program. It was new. And it wasn't offered in Lincoln County yet. So they didn't know if I was even going to be able to get it. But I knew that they had to do 18 months of this program, staying sober, doing UAs, getting a job, doing what you needed to do, and I was scared. Why? Because what happened to me in 2001, I was on probation for 5 years. I made it 2, and I picked up another DUI. How am I going to do this for 18 months? And I'm calling up my sponsor and I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I have no idea. She's like, Sarah, come back in today. Come back in today. She's like, you think that far ahead and you start projecting that far out, you're setting yourself up for failure. She's right. And I started putting one foot in front of the other, one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, one moment at a time, because that's what it is. You know, and I'm almost 8 years sober today. And it's because of you guys. Because of my higher power, I found a higher power. And that power is not me. It's not my drugs. It's not my alcohol. It's a power greater than that. And that's what's keeping me sober. And that's why I keep coming back. That's all I have. Thanks.
All right, let's have another round of applause for Mallory and Sarah. And we'll go ahead and close with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Give us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Feed on that day first.